Ophelia is doomed because of her innocence, her courage, and her capacity for love, too close to reckless power. Ophelia is born into a rich and powerful family. At the height of the Danish Empire, her dad is the king's most trusted advisor. And she and Hamlet, the king's only son, fall in love. But they have to keep their relationship a secret. Hamlet's position as prince means he can only marry if the state wants it, likely for political reasons, like solidifying an alliance or ending a war. It's almost impossible for him to marry Ophelia. Many thousands of lives might depend on his marrying someone else. He must remain free to do so. And it's important for her and her family that she marries someone prosperous and respectable. So being perceived as an innocent paramour of the prince might be tolerable, but being perceived as his mistress would be ruinous. If anyone finds out that they're as romantically involved as they are, it could harm all of Denmark and ruin Ophelia's and by extension her family's reputation. But when Hamlet's life and the country's future is suddenly upended, she's the only one who's there for him. The king, Hamlet's father, dies unexpectedly in strange circumstances. Hamlet returns from university for the funeral and royal election where he watches his uncle become king, but then his uncle marries his mother. In his bewilderment, Hamlet only has Ophelia. His court school friends aren't around, and his university friend Horatio doesn't come to court. He certainly doesn't speak with his mother or his uncle about his feelings. To him, their marriage is depraved, even unholy. For 2 months after the king's death, Ophelia is Hamlet's only confidant, and their relationship gets even more dangerous. Now not only might people question its propriety, but the more she knows what Hamlet's actually thinking and feeling, and the more people believe she might know, the more his increasingly scandalous behavior draws attention to her. Hamlet dresses in all black through the royal funeral, election, coronation, and marriage. It's a silent protest about the direction of state affairs that creates more tension at each new event. Is he just being petulant and dramatic, or does he suspect something more sinister? Is he signaling his feelings publicly to draw support? At what point does it become a serious enough provocation for the king to respond, and how? If the tension in court boils over, would Hamlet or the king make a move against the other? Who would take which side in an open conflict between the king and the heir apparent? Ophelia finds herself in the middle of this high-stakes court intrigue because she cares for Hamlet, and she listens to him. Whatever Hamlet is thinking and feeling, Ophelia is the likeliest to know it, and others in court have observed them together enough to warn her father. It's increasingly dangerous for her to be so close to Hamlet, given how he's acting. On the same day, the king and queen finally publicly criticize Hamlet for his behavior and refuse him permission to return to university. Ophelia's father gets her to admit to her close relationship with Hamlet. He claims he's known for a while and now demands the truth. What Ophelia tells him, and how, terrifies him. The growing dangers of their relationship, especially if it were to become even more intimate, are too dire for him to tolerate. He demands that she immediately cut off all contact with Hamlet. Ophelia now faces an impossible choice. Does she abandon Hamlet when he's lost his father and feels deeply betrayed by his mother and uncle who have just publicly humiliated and punished him, especially when he has no one else? Or does she defy her father, risking more severe restrictions in order to possibly blow up her and her family's lives? Her father's warning and her desire to protect herself and her family, and at least remain in court to keep an eye on Hamlet, win out. She cuts off all contact with him, coincidentally, tragically, the same day that he hears a deadly secret she cannot possibly imagine. Hamlet cannot tell Ophelia that he believes his uncle killed his father without implicating her and further endangering them both, especially if he's right. His at first feigned madness deliberately distorts everyone's ability to perceive his true thoughts and feelings, Ophelia most of all. Her perception of reality and her actual reality begin to diverge here, at first around Hamlet. The actual cause of his sudden psychological collapse and subsequent deterioration over the next 2 months is unknowable to her. But it begins at the same time that she abandons him. No one else in the increasingly concerned court can see any other legitimate cause for his conspicuous madness. It's a serious concern for everyone. His prior displays of grief and dissatisfaction were concerning, but his rapid descent into acute mania is terrifying. What has caused the crown prince, the heir apparent, to lose his mind so completely, and what does that mean for the future? Everyone is searching for reasons Hamlet has gone insane, which only he and Horatio seem to actually know. But Ophelia might easily believe that her abandonment of him has at least contributed to it, which, of course, it almost certainly has. At the same time that she starts rejecting his letters and avoiding him, his mental health starts crumbling. He keeps reaching out to her. The guilt, fear, and stress she feels must be overwhelming. She knows he's suffering and likely believes her own actions to be the secret sought-for cause. Finally, after 2 months of rejection and increasingly alarming behavior, Hamlet confronts Ophelia in her room, half-dressed and incoherent. She runs to her father, who is quickly convinced Hamlet has lost his mind because he obstructed their love. He takes Ophelia to make that case to the king and queen. They show them Hamlet's old love letters. The king and queen give her a chance to prove that Hamlet's thwarted love for her is the secret cause of his madness, and possibly to help revive him. Later, or at that very moment in one version, as Hamlet wanders towards the lobby of the palace, the king and Ophelia's father instruct her to greet him, while they eavesdrop from a hidden alcove. But when he enters, Hamlet doesn't see her at first. Instead, he contemplates suicide aloud, at length, before suddenly recognizing and addressing her. This is no longer just a chance to prove their love, get the king's blessing, and start his recovery. This is now an active intervention. The man she loves, the future leader of the country, is explicitly suicidal. With the pretext of admonishing Hamlet for assaulting her earlier and to prove at least their past relationship to the spying king, Ophelia offers him his old love letters back. But he misunderstands. She deliberately abandoned him 2 months ago, and now she's doing this because he was unkind to her? He flies off the handle and savagely rebukes her, leading the king to disbelieve he loves her, despite the obvious depth of feeling in his reaction. Ophelia, destabilized but not defeated, struggles to regain her composure. There is no way she can give up now. Hamlet's life and the country's future depend on her. Later that night in court, Hamlet viciously mocks her right before the play he arranged causes a scandal, upsetting the king. Ophelia maintains her composure. But then, for no apparent reason besides a complete psychotic break, like the ones she has witnessed before, Hamlet kills her father. To Ophelia, abandoning Hamlet in order to save herself and her family, and failing to rescue him when she had the chance, has at least contributed to his mental breakdown, which has now destroyed him, her, and her family, and at least damaged the country. Ophelia's fate is the horror of all madness. Her reality has become incomprehensible. The distance between what's happening to her and the sense she can make of it becomes an abyss. She teeters on the edge, the futility and the strain of reconciling her perception of reality with the chaos that engulfs her, and the emotional devastation of each new horror erode her psyche and crush her will to endure the nightmare her life has become.